One day we'll have intro music, but like, not today. Hi, welcome to Don't Quote Me on That. I'm Kalina.
And I'm Elanor.
And this is the show where we kind of talk about movies.
Yeah, I think we have a pretty good streak of talking about movies. Which is to say, honestly, we've talked about one in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was thinking like we might have to change the tagline, but I know us. We're going to fall back. We're not going to keep this up.
This is another installment, one of two, of our Pride movies. This one was Kalina's pick. So Kalina's going to tell you about it.
I had a pick.
A little bit.
Oh, yeah. The movie I picked is The Half of It, which I watched a while ago. I had seen trailers for it, and everyone said it was really good. And it's like a surprise Pride movie, I guess. Like it's not like meant to be or like inherently about the relationship between these two girls, but it is. It has lesbians. We did two guys, so I figure we got to balance the scales along the way,
exactly.
Obviously. But what drew me to this movie is when I was younger, and probably still now a little bit, but when I was younger, I always wanted a guy best friend. I thought that was so cool. I really wanted a friend, I think is the point. But I really wanted a guy best friend. And this movie's kind of about like these two people who never talk. There's one girl and then this guy who's more popular than she is, and they kind of like become friends throughout the course of the movie. She's helping him with something, but they develop a friendship. And the movie is kind of more so about that and the dynamics of, figuring yourself out in high school. It's a coming of age movie of sorts, and I think they did it really well. And I thought I debated watching it for a while, but I liked it a lot more than I thought I would.
I agree. I liked it more than so the only thing I knew before watching it was gay, and the Wikipedia page said it was a Cyrano retelling, and that kind of made me a little bit suspicious, just because I think it's just kind of weak when the main issue in a movie could have been solved with a single conversation. But
yeah.
I think
stress me out.
Yeah, the kind of like secondhand embarrassment, but worse because it's like secondhand dread. Anyway, but I think they handled it mostly well. There are a couple points of this movie. Like, my overall take is, it was a good movie. It was really sweet. It made me really emo because there were a few kind of similarities with one of my best friends in high school and still today.
Eleanor had friends in high school.
Yeah, I had two. So, I win. But yeah, that part made me a little emo. I'm not sure I would have liked it as much, kind of without that connection. Yeah.
Look at us.
But I did like it. My main critique is just that you could tell sometimes they were trying to sound pretentious. And also you could tell there weren't a lot of young people being contacted or being consulted with for the actions and language. But also
when I found
kind
out
of every
old
movie.
The main character is. Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
I can now.
I was talking and you were also talking.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. Eleanor was saying about, there wasn't a lot of young people contacted. And I was saying when I found out how old the main character is, the girl who plays the main character, I spent 50 years on her Instagram page after that. And she's not that old, but I think she looks like a high schooler, like a young high schooler, and she's 24, which is not old at all, but...
No, I mean, most of them did look like high schoolers, which I'll give them credit for. It wasn't like Glee, but yeah.
I think the guy is 25, and then the love interest is also 25. I thought she looked the oldest, but I thought the two main characters, the guy and the girl, looked so young.
Yeah, they did, which is good.
Yes. They didn't look like adults playing children.
Mm-mm. So, this movie set in, where is it set? Washington? Quahamish, Washington. That's another thing. Were we just supposed to know it was Washington? Because it took me until about halfway through the movie to have that light bulb click.
I don't know when we watched Big Eden, I'm pretty sure they said they were in Montana, and I still had to go look it up while I was watching the movie where this movie took place. So like, don't, if it was supposed to be subtle, don't ask me. I don't know.
That's also the one of the one of the like side plots is the main character trying to figure out what college she's going to go to. And they just said the name of one of them, and it's not until the very end that we find out it's in Iowa, which is far away from Washington. And
also a lateral move. Like,
yeah, I would have appreciated a little sprinkle of Iowa, or like make it the University of Iowa. Like, I just thought she was going to she was like, I don't want to go to the big city, but like that's a little.
That's like me when I think it sounds obnoxious when someone's like, where do you go to school? And I'm like, oh, I go to school in Ireland. Like I don't say it like that, but I think that's how it sounds.
Yeah.
So a couple of times when I first went, when people asked, I came home for the summer, and when people asked, I was like, oh, I just go to Mary Immaculate College, right? But the problem is they follow that up with, where is that? Or one time I had someone go, oh yeah, isn't that in Wisconsin? And I was like,
sure,
well, it is in the north. It's just like just a little bit off.
The job I'm at now, I usually work there during summers, and so I'll like make a comment or something because I'll recognize something. Anyway, I'll be like, oh yeah, to my coworkers, I'll say, yeah, I work here during the summers because I don't go to school in Arizona, and they're like, oh, where? And I was like, we don't have to. It's okay. We're fine.
I tried the out of state card. That works sometimes, but yeah, usually they follow up like, where?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like I
don't want to sound obnoxious. I'm not trying. So if you ask me that question, I sound obnoxious. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to at all. But anyway, a little sprinkle of Iowa would have been helpful.
Yeah, because I just thought she was like, no, I want to go to the school that's 10 minutes away, not one that's 30 minutes away. And I was like, girl, shut up. But like, makes a little bit more sense.
Big difference. Yeah.
Let's see. So this movie starts out. I know this because I made one note that had context in it. It starts out with the retelling of the Greek story about how we started with like 4 eyes and basically 2 humans squished together, and the whole point of life is to find our other half. My first note was
No, go.
Oh. My first note was, do I believe we started as joint beings? No. Do I love Greek mythology? Yes.
I agree. I think that feeds right into, listen, if you've watched any of our episodes that involve romance at some point in time, I don't think romance is the end all be all. I think that's a horrible story. I don't like the message behind it. Again, do I like Greek mythology? Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
So I'll allow it.
That's a good point.
Oh boy. My next.
I'm letting Elanor lead this episode because Elanor just watched it and I watched it ages ago, so I'm excited to hear her thoughts.
Okay, I did take a few notes. Okay, so the next thing, I think I took this while they were doing just an intro scene, and I read a little bit about this. So during the intro scene, there was the retelling of the Greek story, and then there were just kind of snapshots of the main character's life in the town, and the director, her name is Alice Wu, she talked about how she purposely didn't show the main character on screen during that time so that we could get more of a feel for her life, and also we get the sense that we kind of don't know her, and then that's mirrored to where like the end scene, it's basically just her face, and so it kind of shows the evolution of, we started out not knowing who she is, and she didn't really know who she is either, and then the end, we get to see her whole being, and she knows who she is, and we do too, which I thought was really neat. Didn't click until I read it, but I did think that was cool.
That's nice.
Yeah, it seemed like I read a little bit. I read the trivia on the IMDb page because we are very good researchers. It seemed like the director. It seemed like a fairly personal story to her, or at least that she put a lot of herself in it, and so she did think about a lot of like the little things, and like she did put a lot of thought into what the characters did and how she showed things on screen, which I appreciate. I think it came through. I don't know how to say this nicely, but you can definitely tell that kind of the things that mirror what she went through, you can tell that she went through them not in the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the scene, whatever they yell, the main character bikes to school, and there's a truck of students, I guess, going to the same school, and what do they yell at her? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but kind of on that point, I was thinking, I agree, it does feel out of touch, but I think because there is an emphasis on the fact that she's in a small town, like, and it's called Squamish, like, you know, and she is, I think it's important to mention, the main character is Asian, so that's also a point of contention in the film. Not too bad, but, like, it is she's
definitely different, I think an outsider.
It adds another dimension to the experience she's having, and I think I didn't really notice it was out of touch because it made sense for the setting. Like, it made sense for somewhat of an immigrant parent in a small town who didn't have a lot of friends to kind of... And I feel like towns like that are isolated based on my limited knowledge. But, like, I do feel like it's kind of... There are more pockets of America where time might not move in the same way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, now that you say that, I might take it back, because it was put out to be a very tiny town, and the most fun thing to do was to go to church. So you know what?
There you go. That's
good point.
My debate skills coming into play there.
Let's see. My next note was, I have a lot of thoughts about the way high school is portrayed in the media as this huge thing with lifelong ramifications, and my hottest take is that buying into that automatically means you have peaked in high school. I don't think my high school experience was like how they portray it at all. It was a big thing for me, and I did feel like it was going to be the biggest thing I experienced. And then I left for college, and I was like, oh, like, I don't even remember what I felt like in high school anymore. Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it was like. I remember I couldn't tell you a single, besides playing water polo, honest to God, I couldn't tell you a single thing I did in high school. I don't remember doing homework. I don't remember, like, I sat in my car till the bell rang. That was it. I remember, like, bits and pieces, because some things happened in high school. Like, I had a teacher who sometimes he would show up and he just wouldn't talk to us for a whole class period. So, like, that was kind of weird. The thing, like, that sort of stuff stands out. And, like, there is something to be said that, I think we talked about this a little bit in the Olivia Rodrigo episode where, like, you know, when it's happening, that's kind of the biggest thing to have ever happened to you. So I get that, but, like, I don't know. They didn't, I don't think they portrayed high school as an end-all be-all. I think I was just being a little bit mean at the start of the movie. But I stand by what I said. Yeah. No, it's a fair point. And then in the kind of the first, the establishing scenes. Did we like that? It's my little, I'm a film student. Degrees. Thank you. We learned that one of her main gigs, the main character, I should know her name. Her name's Ellie. Ellie. I think that's such a cute name, side note. I love the name Ellie. I think it's adorable. I went by Ellie for about 2 weeks, and then my mom found out, and she screamed at me. You're not an Ellie. I'm not. I don't know what I was doing. Anyway, we find out that she writes papers for other students, and they pay her for them. And, the scene, I think... Hustle. I do. But I couldn't do that. My main thing is, why does she print them out for them? Like, ink is expensive. You're already doing all that labor. Just email it to them. Share it. Yeah. Call it a day. And then I was like, the teacher's there's no way she's turning in all these papers and the teacher doesn't know, but the teacher does know. I didn't like that plot line. I had some questions about it, because, like, legally, I think you have to report that. Yeah. But the teacher was like, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, the teacher was like, it's fine. I don't want to read their actual thoughts anyway. And it's like, babe, that's your job. Maybe you should teach better if there's only one student in your class who can write a good paper. Like, at that point, she's just really good. That's not you. Yeah. But, I think, again, rules work differently in small towns, I guess. I would imagine so. But yeah. Anyway,
when they were when she was biking to school, not walking, she passed a house, and I guess it was the main preacher or priest, I don't really know, and he was just like screaming Jesus-y things. Did you have a street preacher in high school? Because we had a guy who he would stand like right outside of the line. Yeah. There's actually, there's a documentary on YouTube. I think it's called like Virgin Preacher. That guy, his main hub is a school in Arizona. It's quite fun. I don't know if he's still there, but like, that's us.
We had a parking lot across the street, and so like there was like a little median in the middle of the two lanes of traffic, so sometimes he would just be there standing. So all the guys who passed him would just do the most ridiculous and lewd things they could think of to piss him off while they walked by, or if they were like stuck there in the median. And he was dedicated to the cause. He had a sign, he had like a little backpack and a little speakerphone, so you could hear him as soon as you stepped foot outside the school. But yeah, didn't love it.
Power to him.
You gotta be committed.
You do, and you know, maybe the commitment all that energy might be better spent elsewhere, but you know, you found your passion. Anyway, there's a scene that this was the first thing to really annoy me. So we see her getting at least $60 because she did 3 essays, at least. I think there might have been more. I can't count. And then she's on the phone with the electricity company, and they're like, we need a payment of $50 by tomorrow. And so that's why Ellie agrees to write a letter for the main guy. So basically, Ellie, what's the main guy's name? Paul? Yeah. So Ellie is writing a letter for Paul to give to Astrid because Paul likes Astrid. And he's like, I'll give you $50. Can
you explain who Astrid is? Also, her name is Aster. But
it's Aster? Oh.
Yeah. Oh, also, sorry, side note, worst part of the movie, Aster is the main love interest. As Elanor said, Paul is in love with Aster and wants Ellie to write letters for him because he can't write properly. But Aster is dating a boy, and his name is Trig.
I hope it's his last name and just a nickname, but also, yeah, his name is Trig. And it's,
like Trig? Not
he's
Trig?
as interesting as his name is. Well, no. His name is a lot more interesting than him.
Okay, I'm sorry. The character's name is Trig Carson, right? But get this. The actor's name, even better, is Wolfgang. So they just really casted them really well. And no hate to Wolfgang. It's a cool name. It
is. Just
a man named Wolfgang is playing a man named Trig. I think that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, Paul wants Ellie to write love letters to Aster for him.
Aster is dating the most popular guy in school, and she's really pretty, and I think she's the daughter of the preacher. The preacher. Not the one who was screaming outside. No,
different man.
Other one? I don't know enough about church to, like, tell you his job. But anyway, so she's kind of popular. I guess she's supposed to be the it girl, because she's dating the it boy. But Paul is convinced that he's in love with her, and he's like, hey, Ellie, I'll give you $50 to write a letter. And she says yes, because she needs the money, but she just got money? And, like, there's no way. That sounded like the power had been going out for 3 months. So, like, there's no way she didn't know that. So, like, I don't think you should have shown her getting money and then having her do this thing to get, I mean, granted, yeah, sure, she needs money. That's why she's doing it. But she just got enough money. Have her only do 2 papers, so she only has $40. I took a little bit of a tally. I was like, wait a second. I know you need a reason. That just annoyed me a little bit. Sorry. Anyway, so they're talking. Paul and Ellie are talking. And Paul, he's basically like, I am a boy and I am in love with this girl and I want to say, hello, I think you're hot. I have a truck and I work part-time. Let's go out. A, she has a boyfriend. B, I work part-time and I have a truck. Would have worked on me in high school, unfortunately. Also, he was very insistent that he was in love with her, and I was like, calm down,
Paul. How do you know? Yeah, I thought he was very confident to like, if she didn't have a boyfriend, I get it, but, like, the boyfriend would have been, from my understanding of boys, I think that would have been a big deter, and he was like, nope, don't care.
Yeah.
She needs to know.
And, like, everybody...
Which, like...
And, like, there was really only, like, one scene... Or, actually, this scene wasn't even about her, about Aster, like, feeling weird about literally... She went on 2 dates with this boy while she had a boyfriend. There was no amount of introspection about that on her end.
No resolution to that at all. Yeah.
And, like, also, I don't think she and her boyfriend Trig ever, like, spoke to each... I think he said one word to her the whole movie.
To her. I don't think it was a conversation.
No. And just, I have a lot of, like, how did they get together? Like, did their parents just meet up and say they're gonna date now?
I think
like,
that was part of it, because I know, like, I think there's a scene where they're having dinner, like, she's having dinner with her father, and her father's like, oh, Trig's such a nice boy. And I think Trig's family is wealthy.
yeah.
And, like, they're the big family in the town, so I think her father was like... Also, and they, like, another thing is, Aster is... Hispanic?
Yeah, she's
I
Mexican.
don't know if that's the correct one. Yes, okay, Hispanic.
I looked it up. She's Mexican.
And that's like a minor kind of thing running through that you find out when she talks to her father about the father, the preacher, but he's talking about, like, how Trig is such a good match and they should get married. So I do think part of it is just kind of like they were the it people, and then her father, I think, is putting pressure on her on top of that.
There was a scene, Ellie and Aster were in the bathroom, like, washing their hands, and there were girls in the stalls talking, and one of the girls said something about how Trig owns half the town, but Aster's family doesn't even own her house. So, like,
yeah.
I guess it would make sense, because her dad's like, oh, this boy's rich, so getting married would be good for the family. Also, they talk a lot about the girls in the stall, who I guess are supposed to be part of the popular crowd, because they're just catty and mean, which I don't know if that, like, actually exists. Anyway, they talk a lot about shopping at the Gap. Does anybody actually shop at the Gap?
I hope not. I've, like, been to the Gap, but, like, I wouldn't, like, plan my day around shopping at the Gap. No.
Yeah, they were talking about, like, the good Gap, and, like, Target exists. They were talking about going to a big town. Surely there's at least a Target. Anyway, I had, like, 3 notes about that. So basically, Ellie is writing letters for Paul to give to Aster. And during this time, Ellie is, like, reading the letters that Aster writes back. And eventually they transition to a messenger service, which I think was supposed to be like Snapchat, but it was more secure. And so Aster and Ellie are talking, but Ellie's talking like she's Paul. Okay, but then Ellie starts to fall for Aster. See the little... But Aster thinks it's Paul the whole time and starts to fall for Paul. So, you know, you see... Getting crazy up in here. Some shenanigans. It is a triangle. See? I don't know where I was going. Okay. My first note about the whole letter situation was, this girl knows what's going on, right? Surely she knows a man wouldn't write as well. I'm like, no offense to men, I'm sure...
Really, they were talking about, like, artists and authors and stuff, and, like, no offense to men in particular, like, in general, but, like, Paul specifically, just based on the caliber of boy we saw at that school.
Yeah, he was a very boy's boy. He was, like, the football dude. And, like, not that you can't like reading and football at the same time, but he didn't give off the impression that he did. And then they have this date that was just... Weird. So first of all, Paul sends her a text, and it's like half emojis. It's like, you want to get fries later? Which, again, would work on me. I think Paul should hit me up. And then he's like, sorry, my little sister stole my phone. And then Aster's still like, oh, okay, do you want to get fries? Which, like, girl, have some self... Like, if you're gonna cheat on your boyfriend, Don't cheat with somebody who lies about his sister sending you a text that's half emojis. You know,
Not for
like,
fries.
and then also, like, does that mean that his sister knows that she... It's a very small town. I don't know... I'm not... Okay. Anyway.
Logistically, the movie had some plot holes,
It really did.
But, young love, who are we to get in the way and question it?
Exactly. He's in love with her. They have this date and, like, don't say any words to each other. Ellie, like, spends the whole time prepping Paul. And she's like, okay, if she brings this up, then you say this and yada yada. They just, like, show up and look at each other for 30 minutes. And then somehow they have a second date.
I honestly, as cute as he was and as nice as he was over text, I would not have gone back. I probably would have left and been like, sorry, I gotta go home. My mom called. I gotta leave.
Yeah. I will say, something that made me laugh. They were talking about a book. And one of the things Ellie told Paul, it was like, if she brings up this book, say something about how you wish the movie would have focused on the plot line of the Nazis more, something to that effect. And during the date, Paul goes, yeah, I love Nazis.
Oh, that made me think of Elanor.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is something I have said.
Elanor doesn't love Nazis.
No.
She has said in casual conversation more than once in public, I just love the Holocaust. Which is like,
what I
not good coming from
mean
anyone.
is, as a history student and an academic, I am very interested in the kind of the values of society that led into people kind of being okay with the Holocaust and how we can prevent anything like that from happening again. But that's a very long sentence, and sometimes I just cut out the middleman, and I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Little sketchy.
So anyway, Elanor and I, Eleanor's not allowed to speak in public sometimes.
No.
It's the rule.
Also, Ellie and Paul have this conversation about why they stay in Squamish?
Hamish.
They have a conversation about why they stay. And it's, like, very present tense. It's not a conversation about why they're, like, planning on staying in the future. It is why they are staying right now. And the answer is, this isn't the answer in the movie, but the answer in real life is because they're 17 and they have to be there.
They don't have a choice.
They stay because they have class at 7 in the morning. And legally they have to show up. But anyway.
Eleanor's thoughts are always fun.
I have a note that says, oh, Ellie's mom is dead because, I don't know, I guess they needed to make her more sad. I don't really know. But yeah, Ellie's mom is dead. I love her dad. The only thing that confused, her dad mostly speaks Mandarin, and there's this really touching scene where Ellie's talking to Paul, and she says, her dad runs a train station, and he has a PhD in engineering from a university in China, and she talks about how Squamish was supposed to be like a first stop, and then they were supposed to go on to like bigger and better things because he has a PhD and he's like very qualified. And I think she said something, it's like, being able to speak good English means more than a PhD. I think it was something to that effect, and I really appreciate, or I didn't appreciate, whatever. I liked it. I thought it was very touching, and I thought it was true.
It made me a little emo.
It did. And I think, I don't know, I thought that was a good, obviously this is gonna shock you, I don't know what it's like to be an immigrant.
I mean, technically you do.
Yeah.
Not in the same context at all.
No.
And, like, we won't compare the experiences.
No.
I get your point, but, like, technically.
Yeah. I thought it was, I don't know, it made it a little bit more, I guess, digestible than just watching, like, a news headline that's, like, 50 people fired from their job or whatever. Like, it made it a lot more personal, I think.
Yeah, and I think it was much more, I think how you were saying earlier, like, she doesn't really know who she is. You're trying to get a sense of her life. I think that made it both more general and more specific, because, like, I think if they did something like a bunch of people fired from the job and her dad's one of them, I think that makes it very specific to the story. Whereas if it's something that, like, you know, an immigration thing and the whole English first in PhD thing, I think it makes it more general to, like, themes of the movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I thought that was a nice conversation.
Her dad watches a lot of movies in different languages, though, which I think is the funny. He doesn't speak them. He was, like, watching a movie in French.
Mm-hmm.
And he and Ellie, that's their bonding time, is they sit down in front of the TV and watch French movies together. I think one time he was watching Casablanca. I think he watched.
Yeah, he watched some French ones, a few like Bollywood movies, and then a couple in English.
Oh, speaking of family struggles, then, so Paul's whole thing is Paul comes from, like, a really large family. There's a lot of kids, and his folks own a sausage making restaurant
Company.
Not sure, but Paul's thing is he has, like, really big ideas for how to improve the sausage, the sausage recipe or style or method. I'm not sure. He has some notes, and he'd like to be innovative, but his family won't let him because they're like, nope, this is what works. So they kind of bond over that. And he tells Ellie about how he, like, writes to different food critics about his sausage creations, is what the Wikipedia page says. And that also comes into play later, but I don't think we've gotten there yet.
No, I don't think so. But yeah, I also read one of the little quotes from the author. Maybe it was from the director. Maybe I don't know if it was from a review or from, like, actually the director. But one of her Paul, his first main sausage creation is called taco sausage. And the thing I was reading said that was, like, done because it's a hint at Astor's heritage and then also his heritage. I guess his heritage is sausage. And she's Mexican, so taco sausage. And I thought that was a cute little detail.
I hate that detail.
It's kind of cute.
Yeah, but you just said his heritage is sausage, so...
Well, is he German, maybe? No, he can't be German and say that he likes Nazis. I hope he's not German.
Again, another plot hole we would like filled.
Yeah. But, yeah, homeboy likes sausage. Anyway, they have a second date. And during the second day, it's Paul and Astor in the restaurant. And then Ellie's sitting in Paul's truck outside. I don't know if she can hear the conversation or what, because it kind of seems like she can, but also it kind of seems like she can't. Ellie starts texting Astor as Paul to, like, make up for the fact that he's just sitting there staring at her. And I just feel like I would notice if a boy was sitting across from me not texting me while I received texts from him. Like, love is blind, but it's not dumb.
I had a lot of questions about the logistics of that. Like, that would stress me out, like, if I had to do it. Especially texting. Like, I know they were in a small town, but, like, figure out some, like, earpiece, Bluetooth headphone sort of shebang and make that work. Because, like, also, like, if Astor looked out the window, I'm pretty sure she would have just seen Ellie sitting in Paul's truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also, if I was on a date with a guy, right, and then we leave the date, right, assuming all goes well, we finish the date, we leave the date, and then he goes to his truck and there's a girl sitting in his truck, I have a lot of questions.
I would have so many questions. And, like...
But also, she agreed to a second date after the first one, so I'm not
yeah, so she's just a little questionable. And then, let's see, what's next? Is the talent show next? No. Then they hang out. Then the party. The party? I thought it was talent show and then party.
Listen, I'm on the Wikipedia page. I don't see talent show. I see party.
I thought she only got I think she got invited to the party because it was a talent. Anyway, the whole thing for the talent show is it's a talent show, but it's mandatory for seniors, so just call it a senior showcase.
Didn't make any sense at all.
If it's mandatory, just change the name. And Trig does like a kind of a Springsteen-y big production. Very good. The man is on screen maybe twice. three times actually.
The entire time.
Once he is, doing something called mudding, which is where you put your truck in mud and then you make
they did that in Florida.
Oh,
I actually knew what that was.
Like on purpose?
Apparently, I've never been. I just know people who have been. I would not go if I was invited.
It didn't seem fun. But
I get, like, if you need things to do, but I live in Florida, so I don't really think they were, like, short on things to do, so I don't know why that was an activity they picked up.
And, like, I think it's important to point out that you live, like, near Miami. You don't live in, like, Alabama, Florida.
In South Florida, yeah. There's definitely stuff happening. I don't do the stuff, but, like, I know there's stuff happening.
Like, there are things to do before sitting in the truck making mud go, woo!
Yeah.
So, anyway, Ellie, at the showcase, at the senior showcase, the talent show, whatever, she goes to do a piano thing. And what happens is she's pressing keys on the piano, and some of them are, I think the subtitle said, like, broken, like, sound of a broken string or something. So something's funky inside the piano. And then people in the crowd laugh, which, like, kind of seems like they cut the strings.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think some of the boys that drive by her and call her names, I think they cut the string before she went on.
It's just, like, unnecessary.
Just an extra level. Like, I don't get, but, like, normal high school bullying, but I think that's just very targeted.
Yeah, like, calling you names is one thing.
There's no effort. I'm driving by, you're there.
Yeah. But, like, that...
Not that bullying's okay.
And there was also,
no
like, really... I guess we're supposed to assume it's because she's the only Asian person in the whole town? But... Yeah,
I don't know if it... Like, that was what I liked about the movie, but also confused me. I don't know if she's isolated because she's the only Asian person, or if it's, like... Or if it's just... She's not isolated because she's Asian, but her Asianness doesn't make
help
her feel isolated.
Yeah.
Like, her not... I guess her not whiteness makes her not, versus her Asianness specifically. You know what I mean? I think it's the not whiteness aspect.
But then, like, also, I kind of got the sense, mostly because I was a little bit like this in high school, unfortunately, like, she thought she was smarter than everyone, so she didn't want to interact with anyone. Like, I kind of got the air.
I think that was a secondary part. Like, I was thinking, if she grew up in that town also, like, if her father couldn't speak English and couldn't really relate to other people in town, it's not like 4-year-old Ellie was going around doing all the socializing for her family, you know what I mean? So, like, I think her father couldn't interact. So by the time she grew up, they didn't have any sort of community for her to grow up with or into. But I do think that was part of it. I think by the time she got old, and I think it's probably like a protection sort of thing, but when you're isolated already, it's a lot easier to go, oh, I have this over these people. That's a good point. I separate myself versus I'm being separated.
That's a good point.
But
like, and then Paul, like, passes her a guitar, and she sings a song on the guitar, and then everybody loves her, which was kind of the main thing that I was like, oh, the person who wrote this hasn't been a teenager in forever. But everyone thinks she's talented and cool now, and she gets invited to a party, and then she gets drunk at the party. The scene, what does she say? Paul comes up to Ellie at the party, and Ellie says, she's, like, obviously had a few. She said something like, just so you know, I have been drinking spirits, I have been monitoring the situation. And Paul goes, how many drinks have you monitored? Which is just really funny. It kind of reminded me of something you would do.
Yeah, I did think that sounded like me. I thought Paul takes her home after this, and I thought that was cute. It was like I like how the tables turned, and, like, she was in his world and he had to take care of her. I thought that was nice.
I did. I thought that was really cute. I didn't realize that he brought her to his house, but he did. And she woke up to a little note that said, drink these, and it was some Tylenol and a glass of water. And I was like, that's so cute. They're friends.
Yeah.
But then Aster comes over and sees Paul in her room, which...
Sees Ellie... No, he brought her home, right? So he sees Ellie in Paul's room. Again, I have questions. Also, Aster has a boyfriend. She knows that, right? I know that's a point we keep coming back to, but she knows that, right?
She has to know that. I feel like it's not something you forget. Especially if her dad loves him enough. But yeah.
Her boyfriend didn't seem to notice any of this, so, like, I can't blame her.
He didn't seem to notice anything. He was not really a character. Yeah. He was just kind of there. But anyway, Aster sees Ellie in Paul's room. Basically, Aster sees a random girl in her second boyfriend's room. And it's like, that's weird. But then still, like, hangs out with her the next day. They go to a little hot spring.
They had a moment earlier, too. Like, I think part of the appeal was Aster was one of the few people... I think Aster was, like, portrayed as someone who cared about people, like, genuinely.
Yeah.
And Aster did know who Ellie was. They, like, ran into each other in the hallway earlier in the movie and, like, knocked her stuff down. And Ellie was like, oh, I'm Ellie. And Aster, I think, was like, yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Ellie's like, yeah, you've been playing piano for my dad for forever. She says, plays piano at the church. You're his favorite heathen, which, okay, all right, that's...
Yeah, I think it's because Ellie won't get baptized, but no one else can play the piano, so he has, like, have to put up with it.
He's like, fine. Let's see. And then...
Oh, wait, sorry, I just wanted to mention this, I thought this was cute. When, Paul takes Ellie home, he sees a bunch of letters in her bag, and Ellie had been writing letters to food critics for Paul, to get them to, like, try his taco sausage, and I thought that was, like...
It was really cute.
I think that was the first indication that, like, they genuinely cared about each other beyond just,
business transaction.
Oh, you're helping me write letters.
Yeah. Let's see. And then, Aster and Ellie hang out, and, like, nothing really happens. Aster's like, I don't want to marry this guy, and Ellie's like, okay, I have a dead mom, and then they move on. Like, that's kind of the whole thing.
Hey, they go into, they go talk about they go swimming.
They do. They're laying in
I like that part.
Some water. Yeah, I don't know, that felt a little bit out of place for me, but whatever. Yeah. I would do that. It seemed a little fun.
Not to shock anyone, I didn't have a lot of close female friends, probably until Elanor, genuinely. And Elanor and I don't think either don't fall into, like, typical girlfriends, you know what I mean? And now I'm meeting, like, girls who are probably more traditional girlfriends. I hope you're staying with me. It's hard for me to explain. And I think girls are just like that. I think girls have a tendency to kind of go all in off the bat. I think it's a very beautiful thing about girls, but, like, I do think, I don't know, they could pick up one thing about you, and if they feel they have a connection with you, they just they're all in off the bat, you know what I mean? Which I like.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Guys, like, not a chance, okay? I just, like... Anyway, girls are nice.
While Ellie and Aster are having their little hot tub confessional, Paul is at Ellie's house bonding with her dad over sausages, and they have a talk.
Them.
I love that. What her dad said something. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a bad talk because her dad doesn't speak English and Paul doesn't speak Mandarin.
That I was very confused. So Ellie's dad talks to Paul in Mandarin, and there's no indication that Paul doesn't know what the hell he's saying. But, like, Paul doesn't know what the hell he's saying. His face, like, Ellie's dad is saying some very beautiful things about love, and Paul looks like he's understanding, but, like,
I think they're working on the taco sausage also. I think they're, like, putting together taco sausages in this scenario. You just feel it, you know?
That's true. Her dad says something that's, like, you have, like, when you really love someone, you can't focus on just keeping them where they are. Something about that. Because he, like, I don't know. It's something along those lines, and it was really nice. And then Paul and Aster kiss, and Ellie sees it. And then Paul tries to kiss Ellie. Like, not right after. There's, like, a day in between. Don't worry. And then Aster sees that. And then that makes Paul realize that Ellie is in love with Aster. And then
Confusing.
Paul... it was kind of weird, because I do not have enough faith in Paul that he would see that one thing and be like, oh my god, they're in love. Homeboy didn't have a lot of introspection. And, like, it was only, like, 3 weeks. He couldn't have learned that.
No. But one cute thing was, there was, like, I think this happens into All the Boys I Loved Before, too, which I watched the first one, and then, I watched the second one, but mostly I just watched it because, Jordan Fisher was there, so, like, don't ask me what happened. But anyway, there's, like, some little shop, I think she gets soda. You know those sodas you think, I think it's the one you pop the marble in at the top? I think it was those, and he, like, went, I think... Basically, anyway, long story short, there was some soda, I could be wrong about what it is, but there was some soda she really liked, and she had found some in the vending machine. It was at a football game. This is where Paul tries to kiss her. She found some at the vending machine. Her arm was, like, full of them, or maybe it was yogurt. It was something. Her arm was full of them, and I think I think that had come back later, like, he went to find them for her, but I could be getting that mixed up with 12 the Boys I Loved Before.
I think... so what it is Paul was drinking... I think it's, like, a traditionally Asian or Chinese soda, because when they first...
Yeah.
talk about it, Paul is like, oh yeah, the coach has them in the vending machine because they help with something.
Yeah.
And Ellie says something about how the nearest Asian grocer is like 30 or like 3 hours away on bike or something. So like he knows that she likes them. And then when he first walks into, like, before he kisses Ellie, she has like 6 or 7 just kind of cradled in her arms.
Yeah, she was just like buying out the vending machine. Okay, anyway, it is like that when you miss something. You're like, okay, let me stack these up while I can. My parka pockets be full of stuff, man.
It was, Paul was like, oh, you didn't have to get me one. And Ellie's face was like, I didn't. But she was like, yeah, you can have one. Anyway, what were we saying? Oh, yeah. So Paul realizes Ellie is gay magically. And he says, oh, that's a sin, you're going to hell. But he doesn't say it, like, meanly. He says it, I don't know, he says it, like, in a way that just...
reaction.
I don't know, it makes him look kind of sad. Because he's like, oh, I don't want my friend to go to hell.
Like because of his religious upbringing, it says here. So, like, I do think it was just kind of, like, that's what he... Anything he heard in relation to being gay was probably that. So I think it was just, like, a...
Yeah, he was, like,
and that was
parroting
the first thing he
it.
could think of.
And also there was, like... Yeah, and there was, like, no reaction from Ellie from it, so, like, it wasn't... Anyway. So, nobody in the circle's talking to each other, or in the triangle, nobody in the triangle's talking to each other anymore, because Aster thinks Paul is cheating on her with Ellie, even though she has no legs to stand on, and Ellie was, like, never really talking to Aster, and then Ellie and Paul aren't talking, just Paul tried to kiss Ellie. There's a scene where Paul is at home in his sausage house, and he types on to the Google, Google's like, how do you know you're a gay, or something like that. No straight person has ever Googled that. I'm saying it now, Paul is at least bisexual. I don't care if you walk in on 2 guys doing it and that's the first thing you've ever seen, like, in your life. You don't then go Google, am I gay? No straight person Googles, am I gay?
Confused. He never met a gay person before. His little mind was confused.
Nope. No. Mm-mm. Have you ever Googled, am I gay?
No. Okay.
You know who has?
You make a good point.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, and then Paul's mom sees it, which is just kind of funny. No.
That stressed me out. I remember that was stressing me out. His mom just in general stressed me out, but...
Yeah. So now the church scene. I think, you have anything to say before we get to this church scene? Because I think we've kind of...
Before the church scene, according to the Wikipedia page, they have a little. Paul goes to drop off Sausage to Ellie's father, and they have another little conversation. And Ellie's father asks Paul if he's ever loved someone so much that he didn't want anything to change about them. And I think that was a really good line and a very good point that Paul realized.
I think that's what I was thinking of. I think I got it a little mixed up. But yeah, that was cute. And Paul was like, "Oh my god, I have. That's not real love."
I'm done.
I really liked Paul. I just feel like the movie made him seem a little bit more deep and introspective than Sausage Boy had the capacity for. That's no hate to him, but Boy was a little simple, and that's okay.
I think he might have learned from Ellie and her father, because I was also thinking there's another scene that I really love where they're eating dinner together, and so Paul joins Ellie and her father, and they're watching some French film, and Paul and Ellie's dad are having the time of their lives, and Ellie looks just very confused as to how she got into the situation.
It's cute. Yeah, I think Paul and Ellie's dad have the best relationship in the whole movie.
Yeah. The most developed. It made the most sense.
Yeah.
I was with it.
I really was. They're gonna be best friends. They're at church. And
their church.
Church is a big thing in this community. Everybody in town, except for Ellie's dad, is at church. And there's a lot of talk about love in this movie, which I'm gonna get to. It's in my last little notes, my little recap. Anyway, at church, homeboy, I guess, Aster's dad is talking about love, and then Trig gets up and he's like, "I want to talk about love," and then the end, before he even got up, when the church scene started, I wrote, "If homeboy proposes, I'm quitting," and then guess what happened? Homeboy proposed.
Any man named Trig standing up and saying, "I want to talk about love" is bad and you should leave. I don't care what the context is, who he is in relation to you, you leave.
Yeah.
No offense to anyone named Trig. It's a fun name. I just have just a lot of questions about what
it
the
doesn't
other
inspire
options
trust.
were.
Yeah.
What were your parents' other options that
Calc.
they settled on Trig? You know what I mean?
Calc. It was Trig or Calc at that point. And they're like, well, one's third period, one's first period. I don't want to do math that early in the morning. Let's go with Trig.
Anyway, he proposes.
And
in front of the whole town.
The whole town. Everybody but Ellie's dad. And Ellie stands up and she's like, "No." And then Paul stands up and he's like, "No." And then Aster's like, "Oh my god, it was Ellie the whole time." Yeah, which people should have been a little bit of that should have been mentioned.
Well, I think they actually went on a date out of town on purpose. I was gonna say, if it's a small town and someone saw the two of them on a date, that information definitely would have gotten back to Trig. But Paul and Ellie do stand up. They're like, "No," and then Paul discusses what love is, because Trig's like, "I'll tell you what love is, blah 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 blah. Will you marry me?" So Paul's like, "I'll tell you what love is," and then he quotes something that Ellie said to Aster before when she was pretending to be Paul, and that's when Aster puts two and two together, which I don't know how that worked out. I'm just not smart. I never would have figured that out probably. And then Aster slaps Paul and then leaves, which I think was a valid response, but also you were cheating on your boyfriend. So I know you didn't like him, but you were cheating on your boyfriend.
Yeah. And also, if Aster hadn't figured out that it was Ellie at that point, I don't think Paul saying one line would have made that all click. She seemed
if Ellie said it, I thought thing would have made sense, but because he said it, I would have been like, "Oh, he just is quoting himself," which is weird.
Yeah.
But
at least he sticks to his guns.
Boys.
He knows what he's mean. He knows what he's saying. But yeah, I thought the church scene was very unrealistic, but also I really liked it. I thought it was hilarious. I think it's very funny when people fight in church. But don't do that.
Yeah.
Also, I don't really know why she slapped Paul.
Because he was lying to her, obviously.
I guess so, but I feel like she would have been more upset at Ellie. But I guess you can't slap a girl. It's a small town. I feel like they would have frowned upon that. Maybe he was closer. That's true. I think she was upstairs. I think. Maybe
I think she was like, whoever I reach first, that's who's getting it. It was a good motto.
That's true. So that happens. And then Ellie, the next day or like the next week, the next month, don't know. Ellie sees Aster coming out of a restaurant, and Ellie's like, hey, what's up? And Aster's like, I don't really want to talk to you. Well, she like talks to her, and then after she talks to her, she's like, but I don't want to talk to you. And it's like, say that before you have a conversation.
Yes, don't put those people in front of your whole town.
Yes. And also, if you don't want to have a conversation with someone, if you don't want to have a conversation with someone, say that before you have the whole conversation. And then Ellie kisses Aster and just like runs away, and there's no other mention of that ever.
But it is played like a good thing, and I liked the end of the movie. I didn't think it made sense in the timeline. I think if they gave it more time, maybe throw another conversation in there, that would have made sense. But
at the very end, Ellie decides she's going to school in Iowa, and she and Paul have a really nice goodbye, and there's this, basically it's a little callback to before. What's the cutest part of the whole movie?
Please let me tell you what the cutest part of the whole movie is, okay? So in Bollywood movies, they ride trains a lot, and the guy is always, once he realizes he loves the girl, he runs after the train. And there's a scene where Paul and her dad and Ellie are watching a Bollywood movie together, and Ellie's like, don't run after the train, idiot, which sounds like something I'd say, so we're friends, right? We could be friends. And she's like, it's so stupid when they run after the train, and Paul's something like, he's like, no, I think it's sweet, right? And she's like, no, he's like, oh, it means he loves her, and Ellie says, no, it means he's a moron. And then Ellie gets on the train to go to school, and then you hear Paul shouting for her, and Paul runs after the train, and she says the same thing she said in that scene. She goes, don't run after the train. And he's like, and he's not like, first of all, he's keeping up with the train really well. I think something about Paul is he runs really fast. That's
he's whoever runs in football.
I think all of them run technically, Elanor.
Yeah, but he's like the main runner in football.
But basically, he does that just because they had that talk. So he runs down the train, he waves at her, and he says goodbye, and she's crying, but she's calling him a moron. And then I was really sad for a while after that.
Yeah, no, that part did make me cry a little bit. That was really cute. It was. And like,
I like a good callback. I like subtle things like that where you can't tell they're going to be important later.
But yeah, it's a really cute movie. Sometimes it's a little pretentious, but like the train part was really cute, and I like that nobody ended up with anyone.
And her dad.
Best parts of the movie. Real quick, I had a little line. There's a lot of talk about what love is, and I think it's Paul. He harps a lot about how love is the effort that you put in. I don't like that, because I think effort is a component of love. But let's see, what did I say? I had a hand at being as pretentious as some of the dialogue was, so strap in. I said, love without effort will go nowhere, but effort without a foundation of love is wasted work. So, there you go.
Look at you. Apparently romance movies make Elanor and I sound pretentious. I think I had a really bad quote on Big Eden. But I'm reading here, it says, it's talking about the actress who played Ellie in an interview saying it was like, most people think a love story is boy meets girl, or, boy meets boy or girl meets girl. But she said this is a self-love story because the characters don't end up with each other, which I think is a good, like, I figured that's what they were implying with Aster and Ellie, but I guess not. So I do like that. They didn't end up with each other, but at the end they end up with something, which is, I guess, a better sense of themselves or understanding of each other. And they do I do think they end up with each other in a different sense. Like, Paul and Ellie have each other.
Yeah, Paul and Ellie end up together, but as best.
And I do like the emphasis on love doesn't have to be romantic love for it to be very valuable, for it to matter.
Yeah. Which is, I think, one of the things Kalina and I are a little bit annoying about. But, yeah. I don't think romantic love is the end-all be-all, but I do believe in soulmates, and I do think I have found mine, but I'm not going to say it's Kalina, because that'd be embarrassing to have on the internet. And,
okay.
Final thoughts.
I think people should watch this movie. I think it's very cute, and I think, it's again, I don't believe in love stories, gay or not gay, but I think it tells a very good story, but it focuses on, I like the elements it focuses on. It tells a traditional story, but it takes it from a different point of view. So I think it's a good movie to watch, and it's very easy to watch, and it is funny. It's not like a straight drama or very heavy stuff to watch.
Yeah, it has some funny moments. It's good. I think I gave all my thoughts 3 times over.
Happy Pride.
Yeah. I think this will
more confidence in that.
This will probably come out the last day or the second to last day of Pride. So we did 2 episodes, which more than I think we thought we were going to do.
We planned to do something related to current, like, actively ongoing things. So I think that's just a round of applause for Elanor and Kalina.
Yeah,
we
truly.
are carrying the month of June, obviously, single-handedly.
Exactly. But thank you. This has been Elanor.
I have been Kalina.
And we have been Don't Quote Me on That.
See you next week. One day we'll have outro music, but, like, not today.